Welcome to Go with Kyle Harbaugh. By combining traditional business building methods with AI, Kyle helps law firms, financial advisors, and a variety of businesses thrive in a changing world to build custom growth playbooks to success. Now, here's Kyle.
Welcome back to the show. Today, we're talking about something most law firm owners desperately need. That's building systems that free up their time, increase efficiency, and allow them to grow. Joining us are two experts in that exactly. First, my man, Kyle Harbaugh, a law firm growth strategist and the mind behind Step AI and Right Hire AI, two tools helping law firms scale faster and hire smarter. And my man, Jay McAllister, who helps law firms implement powerful technology systems, including AI, to dramatically boost their efficiency. He's seen firms hit 30+% productivity gains just by getting tech and processes dialed in. Gentlemen, how are you?
It's a great day. Thanks for having us.
Couldn't be better. We're here and we're going to talk about legal tech. This is my kind of Tuesday.
in your wheelhouse with the first segment, kind of the real power of chaos, not growth. Jay, let's kick this thing off, my brother. Like, you've walked into a lot of firms over the years. What's usually holding them back from scaling efficiently?
Well, as of recently, the thing holding them back from scaling is the sheer volume of options out there relating to technology. You've got AI this, and they're all purporting to transform, revolutionize. You fill in the buzzword, how your firm operates. Right. So it creates this analysis paralysis. There's so many tools, and firms sort of lull themselves into sort of maintaining the status quo when there are some efficiency advantages to be had. So this all comes down to having a smart strategy behind ultimately deciding what factors of your firm could actually benefit from an improvement in better technology and systems. But once you have that strategy, it's then all about executing.
Kyle, my brother, how does that align with what you see through Step AI?
Yeah, you can have the best plan, but if you're not going to follow through, it doesn't matter. And so that's something that I regularly talk to my clients about. I can provide you with a custom growth playbook, identify your 5 largest opportunities for growth. But if you don't do anything with it, it wasn't much use to you. So you need to really think about how you're going to implement it. And some of my clients, they say, yeah, I got this from here. I'll hand this piece off to my somebody on my team. They can handle it. They do all our marketing and we'll adjust our messaging. Somebody else, they might say, I'm just not too comfortable with this whole thing, but I want to learn the skill. Can you coach me through it? And then other people, they say something like, I'm just too busy going to court, or I don't have any kind of interest in, implementing this. And so we'll roll it out for them. So we try to accommodate whatever the need is and whatever the appetite is. But if something has to be done with the information, we can give you the best plan, but if you don't do anything with it, it's of no use.
And Jay, word on the street is you've helped law firms gain 30% efficiency. Where does that kind of improvement actually come from, sir?
A lot of times time leakage. I mean, this is one of the biggest factors that kill law firms' productivity and billables is just the fact, let's walk through a day-to-day in a law firm. You start the day, you look through your case notes, you look at the calendar, you decide, okay, for matter XYZ for client Bill Jacobs, you start the work on that matter, you're performing legal research, and then someone walks into your office, one of your associates or one of the other support staff in your firm, they have a question, you answer it, then you start back to the work, right? You have to context switch, get back in the zone, and then a client calls, right? And then you answer the call, you're able to solve that legal issue quickly, you figure, so you're able to handle that. And you get back to work. So this happens over and over and over throughout the day. All of these small incremental time entries don't actually wind up being recorded contemporaneously because they're such small, insignificant amounts, but in aggregate, it adds up at the end of the week. So Clio's legal trends report, they found that the typical lawyer who is not accounting for their time contemporaneously, meaning as those activities are completed throughout the day, if they wait until the end of the week, they're losing 20 to 30% of their billables, right? So that's just time leakage. Then you look at the cost of context switching. Like I mentioned, you got to get back into the groove. You've veered off of your primary task and you started another task. So you lose so much efficiency through context switching. And then lastly, just sheer disorganization. So if you don't have good processes and systems to follow, good task lists that ultimately define who should perform the next activity to move that matter forward, and then ultimately to report back to the either the originator or the other attorney, or whichever member of the firm is responsible for advancing the next step, then you have all of this redundant communication that's happening, this back and forth, right? And then sometimes you have scenarios that result from that where the individual was not aware that the ball was in their court, right? And now you're up against a filing deadline or some extraneous item that you don't have control over. So by looking at the firm holistically and developing a strategy to solve for just those three areas, you can have above 30% increases in efficiency. That's just the average, which is what our attorneys tell us when we're advertising. We have to make sure we talk about statistics that are representative of what the usual results would be, not the outliers.
Absolutely. So Kyle, when you pair that with strategic clarity from Step AI, now you're not just working faster, it's working smarter. You help these law firms do these things, but Kyle, like based on the things that Jay is saying, how does that kind of fit into what you do and what you represent?
Yeah. So you talk to somebody and say, "Hey, I want to grow my firm. What should I do?" And your law firm a colleague, another law firm owner, they might say, "Well, SEO really works for us," or this strategy or that strategy. Well, they're in a different marketplace. Maybe they're a different practice area. Maybe they just have a different clientele, and what worked for them might not work for you. And depending on who you talk with, there's 100 different ways to grow your business. And so we wanted something that identified your 5 largest opportunities for growth based on data, not a standardized playbook that everybody gets run through. We wanted something that was custom built for our clients, for their particular situation, their particular vision, mission statement, all the different issues that they're experiencing with their stage of growth. And so we wanted to identify what makes the most sense for your particular situation.
Okay.
And so that's why we've developed Step AI. And that's what we want people to focus and know where to focus their time, their money, their effort, so that they can actually grow.
And keeping with the theme of AI, Jay, where do firms think AI will help, but it actually doesn't?
So we're coming hot off of MIT. They performed a state of the legal market survey, and they found that 95% of AI implementations had failed, meaning they did not reach the critical success metrics that were defined initially. And typically in the legal context, those success not only in the legal context, but since I primarily focus on the legal, I'm looking for that data. But typically it focuses on efficiency gains, right? So we're talking about being able to produce legal work product faster, or to be able to run the business of law side, more efficiently, meaning, you capture more hours, you provide a better client experience by providing communication updates to clients, those kind of things, right? So at the same time, when you look at, I believe it was Gartner's, they produced a study in 2025 that showed that 77% of law firms were in the pilot phase for AI implementations, meaning they have not rolled out these platforms globally across the firm. They've confined it to a subset of the firm or a smaller practice group within the firm, and they're still testing. So like I just got off of a live stream with Shaughnessy Dyer, who's over at Spellbook, one of the foundational legal AI platforms that existed. They actually preceded, they launched their platform before ChatGPT was made available to the public. It was still in open beta back in November of 2022. So the interesting thing you see here is that a lot of the reason that these AI implementations are failing is because the firms don't have a clear strategy. In other words, they haven't defined what success looks like. They haven't determined where the firm is currently lacking and where AI could potentially be used in a meaningful way to actually create a measurable effect, either A, to increase the efficiency of their staff, or B, to create better legal outcomes for their clients. Right. So if you aren't looking at it from from that standpoint, it becomes very difficult to actually achieve success because you haven't actually defined what that looks like.
So if someone's listening and thinking, okay, I need to fix this, where should they first start? I'll start with you, Jay.
So funny enough, we actually created a methodology about 2 years ago because that question was so often encountered by us with the firms that would approach us. Like I remember back in 2023, I had a firm, mid-market firm in New York, commercial litigation firm, who approached us and asked for our sort of pick list of what are the top 3 AI platforms that your other clients are using and how do we implement those? And to your point, Kyle, you realize that there's a customized approach that's required. Every firm is different. Every firm has its own idiosyncrasies, operating models. I mean, like right now we have a firm who they need the ability to track what they call matter DNA. So when the founder brings a case in, they perform they handle the matter. But then let's say one of the lawyers in the firm does such a great job that 4, 5, 6 years later, they come back to the firm and specifically request that attorney. Well, they still need to be able to track the original origination to the founder of the firm who brought the work in, even though the new attorney is doing the work. And that's a perpetual thing. So again, there's all these sort of nuanced use cases, which requires a customized strategy. So we built this thing called the Leverage AI framework. It essentially helps firms to understand which activities would be suitable to outsource either wholly or partially to AI. Right. And basically you just run through the criteria. It's a 6-step criteria, LVRG AI, L standing for identify the limit or a constraint. So that's why I focus so much on talking about what that is. And we give some guidance around how to do that. The V stands for variance allowed. So you need to know that when you're using an AI platform for legal production or business of law related tasks, you need some level of variability that's allowed in the final output. R is repeatable. So you need a series of steps that defines how you actually complete that task successfully. G is goal oriented. So you need a clearly defined endpoint or milestone that signifies the task has actually been completed. Right. A stands for associate friendly. So as the legal AI landscape currently sits, the capabilities are about that of a junior associate level attorney. So if you wouldn't outsource it to them, you wouldn't outsource it to the AI. And then I stands for integratable data. So if there's any external data that's required for the analysis or the output, you need one unified repository to house that data and give the AI access to it so that it can perform the analysis and output that's required.
And Kyle, what about you as far as the same question to you? What's your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, understand what you're trying to solve. Understand what your struggles are. What are you running up against? What actually makes sense? What's something that somebody's actually going to use? You might have a great system, but if nobody uses it, it's not very good. So you need to understand what your struggles are, and that takes awareness. And I've had so many conversations where a law firm owner says, "Hey, this is the problem." And then I dig a little deeper, and while yes, that is a problem, there's a deeper root issue that might be 2 or 3 steps away that we have to solve first. And that it's the problem they're aware of is actually downstream of this other big problem that needs to get solved first. So, I mean, while AI is great, it's not a magic button that just fixes all of your problems.
Right.
I love automation. Automation is not AI. I love all sorts of different systems, standard operating procedures. You can tackle some of these problems without using technology. You can get very far. You can do more with less people because you have technology. However, if you don't have your systems and processes squared away and you're using technology, you're just scaling chaos. Like if things are just chaotic to begin with, you're just doing more chaos faster with the wrong strategy or tech stack.
And before we wrap things up, gentlemen, Jay, what's one thing you want every law firm owner to remember?
So let me piggyback off what Kyle said. I think it's so important to determine what that limiting constraint is. That's why we spend so much time talking about that, because there are other areas in your firm that could likely be improved, but you have to determine which is the most limiting constraint, which is the thing that's causing the most dysfunction within your firm currently. So figuring out what that is, solving for that. And oftentimes there are downstream effects that result from it. So that means you have to peel back the layers of the onion to get to the core issue at hand. Once you find that, you solve for it. And that is the process of creating an intelligent strategy for growth. So success doesn't come from pure imitation. It comes from intention. So by having that intention behind creating an effective strategy and then moving forward, you sidestep all of the noise and you get crystal clear about actually moving your firm forward in a meaningful way.
What about you, Kyle? What's the one thing you want law firms to remember taking away from this episode?
Yeah, I would say similar to what Jay said, understanding what your problems are specific to you, and then thinking through a clear plan that everybody can get behind, and you can get your whole entire team on the same sheet of music and know why we're doing the thing that we're doing, what the goal is, how to get from point A to point B, and what it's going to take in between. You really need to I like to call it vape. You need to have a vision. You need to articulate that vision. You need to persuade people to follow it. Say, hey, there's this advantage out here. We need to move towards it. And then as people get into there and they start working towards it, there's going to be roadblocks. There's going to be hiccups. And so you need to have a time of encouragement where you say, hey, this is worth it. This is we're making good progress, and really keep people moving in that direction. Because that's where people want to quit is when it gets difficult and messy and things, unforeseen things happen.
Well said.
Can I just really quick say, I'd love to, Kyle, we need to connect. We can workshop on that acronym. That's one that's more health friendly. With the vape one, I'm telling people to leverage
vape's giving off the wrong signals, man.
I'm telling people to leverage AI, and you're telling them to vape. They're like two acronyms, but different.
Yeah. It's what works. But yeah, I'm good. I'm good with workshopping another name.
Jay, where can the people at home connect with you?
So check me out on LinkedIn. Legal Tech Expert is my LinkedIn handle. I'm very active out there right now. Actually, if you follow, I'm actually undertaking this experiment where I am increasing the volume of the high quality posts that we're doing. So we've got a ton of content going out, everything relating to running a better law firm using technology. We have product reviews, we have tutorials, we have we have information about how to name your matters, and all of this information is on LinkedIn. And then the secondary source would be YouTube, where we have a huge and growing library of content. I think we're at like 300 or something videos. Some of them are 30 minutes long, some are an hour long. So you can find yourself in this platform and never be able to come up from air if you so choose.
Amazing. And Kyle, if a firm owner wants to see how Step AI or Right Hire AI can help them, where should they go?
Yeah, so you can learn more at chiefgoofficers.com, or if you want to use our Right Hire AI platform, you can go to righthireai.com. Both are human in the loop decision-making tools. Ultimately, you're this one still making the decision. You're just leveraging a huge set of data and lots of different experts to make a better hiring decision or a better business planning decision much, much faster. So those are the places you can learn more. And then if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, I am very active on LinkedIn. I love the challenge that you're doing, Jay. It's kind of raised the bar, and I'm trying to put out also more tactical, specific information because I love what you're doing.
Good stuff, guys. That wraps up today's episode on building systems that actually make your firm run, not just faster, but smarter. Thank you for Jay McAllister for sharing his tech insights, and my man Kyle Harbaugh for connecting it all back to a bigger growth picture. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And remember to like, subscribe, leave a review, and share this information with someone that might find it helpful. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
If you heard anything you would like to discuss with Kyle, please schedule a call with him using the link in the show notes. Please also be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review in the comments.